Hello, my internet friends. I am back from a 2-week break. Welcome to the Rigel Show. We are coming to you live once again here on March 6th, 2026 from my Earth Dome, also known as my mystical driftwood fort on the sandy beach of the cosmic navel, where song runs through all of reality. Ooh, all of reality. Come on. Okay? A little foreshadowing of what's coming. Hey, Luke. Whitestone name. Hey, Almond Tree. Hey, Corey. Hey, Sam. Man, we got a good crew here already. Hey, Brian. Yeah. And then Stetson Scott. Who are the Cosmic Naval Gays? And why are they Starfleet? Man, brother, you're going to have to just kind of come on in. Hey, Ian, I see you back there. I'm gonna do my little kind of preamble. You're welcome to kind of join me on stage with my preamble, and I'm going to play a song. Are you down with that? Thumbs up? Okay. All right. Anyone else is welcome to join me for my preamble, and I'm just going to, you can mute yourself or I'll mute you. Okay, folks, for those of you who are new, maybe paddling by on your own piece of driftwood, looking for a place to build a driftwood fort with some friends, this is your invitation to break the lurk and come on in. This space is a playful Theotokian riparian zone that seeks to integrate traditional values, okay, that's safe here, modern values, progressive postmodern values, might be a little triggering to some people, and that which is emerging on the bleeding edge of the noosphere, postmodern values. And I'm not using it ironically. All you have to do is click the link, show up. Who knows? Maybe I'll ask you about the home you grew up in. Here at the Cosmic Navel, we sponge paint with the transcendent and the immanent. We smear together rich and poor, and encounter with that liminal space where I and thou, where you and me intersect. And today I am going to kind of enter the Cosmic Navel by playing a song that it's in my repertoire of songs, and it was inspired by a tweet I saw this morning by my buddy Jared Henderson. Jared, internet philosophy god, basically. He wrote in his post, he shared this video of Israeli fighter jets zipping through the air, and there was a classic rock song playing behind that little fighter jet scene. If anyone can guess that song before I play it, I'm going to give you like an internet high five and like, I don't know, maybe I'll even do like a push-up or something. Okay, that's what bubbled up. So if you can guess that song before I play it, he wrote in his tweet, "It is the destiny of all dad rock protest songs to eventually be used for propaganda." And that made me laugh so hard and cry a little bit. So I'm going to play the song. Let's see. Has anyone guessed it? Do I see a CCR? Okay. I feel like Matt Frells, you maybe win this one. Yep. Fortunate Son. Okay, here we go. Fortunate Son, and then y'all just come on in and we'll have a little chit chat. Oh, I got to bring it up on my TV. In my family, we call our devices TV. That's just like a generic I didn't grow up with a TV, so all right, here we go. And we got Ian here just kind of hanging out as my one audience member. Nice to see you, Ian. Can y'all hear the piano? Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, that red, white, and blue. And when the band plays Hail to the Chief, they point the cannon right at you. But it ain't me. It ain't me. I ain't no senator's son. It ain't me, it ain't me. I ain't no fortunate one. Some folks are born a silver spoon in hand. Lord, don't they help themselves? But when the tax man comes to the door, the house looked like a rummage sale. It ain't me, it ain't me. I ain't no senator's son. It ain't me, it ain't me. I ain't no fortunate one. And bone. Some folks inherit star-spangled eyes. Ooh, they send you down to war. And when you ask them how much should we give, the only answer is more, more. Well, it ain't me. It ain't me. I ain't no senator's son. It ain't me. It ain't me. I ain't no fortunate one. All right. Okay, you all are welcome to join in. Ian, what's happening?
How's it going, Rigel?
Pretty good.
That was awesome. Right
on.
I watched my first few of your streams maybe 2 weeks ago or something.
Oh, Lord.
I'd seen you on different things, and it was the one where Yoav was playing the bass clarinet, and I thought it was fantastic. And I like to fiddle around. I mostly just play the guitar. When I was a kid, I played the piano a little bit more, but I don't know. I don't know. You know, OG Rose, Daniel Garner, he's like going around the corner these days. But
oh yeah, big fan.
He talks about like not feeling the permission to do something that you couldn't make money at, and I feel like that is some sort of constraint on my musicality, because I feel like you could play most things and there's some amount of discipline, but there's also like a spirit to your ability to do that. And I feel like that spirit is within me. My parents are musical. My grandparents are musical. But the there's something about it that I could play like ditties and riffs and noodle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a noodler, but
Noodler.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, I wish I knew what talk you were referencing with OG Rose, also known as Daniel. I'm a big fan of his. He has shown up here a few times. But yeah, I mean, I think my goal in life is to create a safe space for people. And I know safe space is a trigger word for some people out there on the algo, but a safe space for your inner creator that is like longing to see and be seen. That's I mean, something happens in our culture. I think this is an American, United States kind of thing, and maybe it's a Western thing. I don't know, but it's like at some point in our childhood, we're told that there's like the creators and the other people, and like if you're not just already kind of impressing people by the age of 6 or 7, then you're probably one of the other people. So,
Yeah.
well, man, glad you're here. I think this is the first time maybe I've met you on stream, Ian.
Yeah, I think we overlapped on a Luke thing, but
Okay.
sometimes you don't get to make introductions.
Yeah, no, I overlap in many things with Luke. Brave space. I like that. Brave space. I want to introduce to the stage Sam and Sherry. Sam and Sherry. How y'all doing? I know, Sam, you usually have time constraints, so why don't you kind of share anything that's bubbling up first, since you have like responsibilities and children and things like that that are needing you to pay the mortgage.
Them dang responsibilities getting in the way of my leisure time. I had a moment to read. I was on an airport this week. I was on an airplane. I guess technically also on the airport. But I got to read a little bit of The Meaning of the Creative Act, some more of that fantastic book, and every line is just a banger.
Oh my
but
God.
he basically, yeah.
I can't get past like the first 2 pages.
I know.
I'm just like underlining and like, yeah. Okay, keep saying.
Well, he's just talking about the pleasure of leisure of philosophy, but I think it applies to creative act generally. It's like he's like it supersedes rationale. It's like you don't do it for its utility's sake, and you don't have to. Like it's just for the joy of doing it. And so like it is a deep travesty in our culture that something, and I've felt this experience. I've had to overcome it, that something like creativity or music or fiddling around doing something that you enjoy for pleasure, that's just a fun leisurely hobby, needs to be like put to some utilitarian end. Like I gotta get likes or something for that. Like it's absurd. It's not, do you breathe for likes? It's like
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's like
you eat a meal for likes. It doesn't make any sense. Sorry.
I've heard people use smart people use the word gravity well. And it seems like there's trying to escape these gravity wells on either side is like trying to balance a ball on top of a ball. And in this day and age, it's just very difficult to thread that needle because it's so attractive. I mean, where everyone's has I don't know if everyone has an Instagram account anymore because that's like old people like me, but has something similar that tends to just put you in a state of like comparing yourself to others, rather than kind of finding that joy that brings you into the flow.
Yeah, it's lovely. Now I get to participate. What I love about this space and spaces like TLC is conversation is kind of like that for me, like a really good conversation. And I think we've all kind of felt that. That's why we're here. And I think that's a creative act that we get to enjoy and like just do for the pleasure of it. And just
Yeah.
leisurely great. Get after it. Sherry's here. Sherry's good at leisure.
Oh
Do you
my
have anything
gosh.
to add?
Leisure?
And yeah, and share. Oh, and there's
And Daniel.
Daniel.
Daniel!
Mr. Leisure
Hey
himself.
everyone, how are y'all doing?
Pretty
I saw
darn
your
good.
email. I do have work in a bit, but I can't resist the chance to see so many fantastic people at once.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You doing okay, by the way? I didn't mean to interrupt. It's good to Sherry. Wonderful to see you, Sam, Ian. Right? It's wonderful to see you. Rigel, you doing okay?
It's good to be
Yes,
seen.
I'm doing great. I'm kind of paddling to keep my head above water. These last few days, I maybe sent you another email about my 100 Days of Creating launch that is happening this Saturday. Everyone out there, 100daysofcreating.com. If you want to get in touch with that safe space, bam, come on. But yes, it has been an incredible amount of work. This community has been it has been a songwriting community for the last 9 years, and it's just had this like rhythm to it, easy. But now that I've expanded it to include all creators, there is some complexity, and on top of that, we're switching to a Discord server, which adds a whole nother level of complexity. So I have my mind in like 1,000 places. I almost like backed out of doing this at the last minute because I was like solving some tech issue. But here I am in the Cosmic Navel where my priorities are. Okay. So Daniel, Sherry, what's kind of popping up for you?
The Cosmic Navel is where everything comes together.
It is. It really, Sherry, it's where everything comes together and where everything emerges from. Isn't it kind of like that's the umbilical point? That's where the nutrition is?
Yeah. It's definitely a little bit of an exchange happening there.
Then I thought this whole time it was about our naval forces. Like this is a military thing. Like
We're a space fleet. It's a space fleet.
I know Rigel's big on
Space fleets look
active
like
kinetic warfare.
Yes.
Space fleets do look like they're all connected by an umbilical cord. Just saying.
It's so
Right?
obvious
True.
now. It's so obvious.
It's true.
I did want to address the Sam's delusion about me having leisure time.
Oh, please set the record straight.
I actually have to schedule that in. And I get
Okay.
it maybe a few weeks a year, but most of the time my life is, well, this is how I look at it. I could grumble and complain that I don't have leisure time, or I could make the mundane sacred, and then I have nothing but leisure time.
Mm.
Yep.
I support that. Go for it, Daniel. You've
Well, I
got
was just
something.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that's really important because if you're waiting for that day when sacredness shows up, as opposed to preparing yourself in a certain way for its possibility, that changes everything. I think also, I obviously Joseph Pfeiffer with leisure, Sabbath, the notion of Sabbath being a quality of engagement with all things. I think, Sabbath is not the absence of work. It's the absence of toil that sanctifies work, because Eden is supposed to be spread. So I think it's really important to I find it difficult, but when you're doing laundry or doing tours on a venue, to actually have that experience fully take you in, or else you end up in your internally consistent systems. Like actually learning to do that is like a really important practice to not be experiencing the world through your lens, but letting the world unfold to you on its own terms. So I like what you were saying there.
I listened to your conversation with Nate. It was fantastic, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. I really had fun with Nate. That was fun.
I enjoyed it. And I left a comment about spread. I don't know if you saw it or not, but the interesting thing about what was the other thing? Scale and spread.
Scale and
right?
spread. Yes, ma'am.
So scale is something that you build that is kind of obvious within itself. Like when you're building something, you know what, okay, now I have to do, I start here and then I go there and then I go there. Spread is hidden and complex.
Yes.
Right. And you actually often don't, like, I'm thinking of mycelium, of course, but you don't know what's working underneath of the spread. You can't actually see the difference, right? Like you can't see when something is spreading. And I mean, you can look at it as a weed in your yard, where you see one day and then a few months later it's covering every square inch of your yard, and you're like, oh my God, how did that happen? Right? So that's kind of the negative manifestation of spread, but it's also the same phenomenon. So I don't know if you got thoughts on that, but
I think it's huge because there's a lot of questions of how do you scale this or scale like what the world needs. You can't, but you can spread it, because scaling something changes the quality of it. It changes the people involved with the thing, when really the problem of our world today is very much a mode of being, a mode of subjectivity. It's not really an issue of, say, technology or like our brain stuck in a modernist paradigm thinks that you solve our problems with a new technology or a new invention. Now, that doesn't mean technology inventions are bad or a new building, but I think you're at the point where really the problems is a way of being, a way of thinking and carrying oneself in the world, right? Well, here's the issue. Scale, following Leputko and Hike, as we mentioned with Nate, scaling changes the kind of person you are in the thing. Like, you are a different mode of subjectivity managing a giant corporation or running the White House than you are gathering here today on Rigel's Cosmic Navel. That, your mode of subjectivity is different, and it just can't help but be changed. And I think we're seeing that. But spread is not less. If your problem in the world is in fact a mode of subjectivity, the fact that it can't scale is not actually a bad thing. It's just, it is a matter of spread. And then also critically, because it has that, the term, I've been wrestling with Deleuze lately because I like to torture myself. And I'm always wrestling between Hegel and Deleuze. And he talks about the rhizome, which is the root system. Yeah. And he also says that basically that's the only way to avoid capture by power, because if you're visible in scale, you're going to be captured by algorithms or whatever. But when you have a root system, it's invisible. So it has its own line of flight, right? So it seems random and scattered, but actually it's all connected. And that's the advantage of spread. But here's the funny move with spread. Also, I was just speaking with Nate and Jediah and Luke and everyone on objectivity. And there's something actually where we need to think, instead of thinking about objectivity, think about that rhiziomatic. Because if something is able to connect people together, there would be reason to think that it's more real than just an illusion or something, right? Because it can kind of connect. But the point is, one of the reasons, though, rhiziomatic strategies or mitochondria, like you're saying, we don't tend to do those things precisely because the difference we're making is invisible and we don't see it. Therefore, we say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to jump on a stream on a Friday and do this kind of thing. It doesn't matter. What difference is it going to make? We ourselves lose track of the roots. We ourselves actually don't see how it all connects together. And so then people don't do the things to spread. And it seems like the only option is scale. But actually, if you have lots of people that see this sort of thing and are inspired to do it, and each one of them begin doing it, it creates a very, very, very powerful root system that changes the kind of people we are in the world. And, when Rigel is starting with his music, this is a key to creativity. It's not that I get to listen to his music and no one else does. It's non-zero sum. Everyone can share in it as well, right? So the things that also bind people together, where in scale, there's limited resources and zero sumness. In creativity and these kind of things, there's non-zero sumness. We can all enter the same space together and collectively have our character and way of carrying in the world change and have permission to feel like this is worth doing. So spread strategies are incredibly powerful, but human beings don't tend to do them because they don't themselves keep track of the roots connecting all the things together, because that takes a certain faith and courage and belief in it and a continuation to show up and continue to create those spaces. But I think Rigel, and I'll stop. Space making is hard. Like Rigel was saying, there's all these things in the background that actually make it possible that if you do your job are invisible. So you work really, really hard to make something not be seen, right? That is the rhiziomatic. You work really, really hard to make connections that are invisible. You work really, really hard to do things that are not easily quantifiable. And that's why we tend to lose faith in spread strategies, because the success of them are that of which are not easily quantifiable. So we ourselves can lose faith in them. But that's where I think art and creativity is important, because you can feel the work that you cannot quantify being beautiful and motivating and creating desire to keep doing it. So the art aspect of all of this is central. So thank you, Rigel, for doing it.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I feel so seen by what you just said. I don't know what to say. That was like, so well said. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
It's to me, it sounds like it's like the maternal instinct. I mean, that's what mothers do. I mean, so thanks, Rigel, for mothering us.
Thank you, Rigel.
Yes. Well, and I
some-
see Jay Zepp said here, spread has a relational aspect. Scale removes
Yes.
that.
Yes.
What? I mean, I noticed, like, just hearing you talk about the difference between scale and spread, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a total personality that you hear talk about scale. And like, I have some of that in me, because it's mechanical, it's predictable. It's like you can build on top of things and it stays. You know, spread is just messy, and you don't know where the next little rhizome is going to pop up. But then when it does pop up, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like crying, because it moved me in a way that I couldn't see. It surprised me. So where does scale fit into a healthy system?
I was going to say that there's an interesting interplay of the music that is a part of Cosmic Navel and this conversation with the word scale, in that a scale is essential to music, but it is not definitive in any way.
Exactly.
Like if you were just to loop through in the spurious infinity sort of way, you could check out my conversation with Daniel if anybody wants to. It's like you're just listing. It would be, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and that's fine for some things to learn the component parts, but then to truly create, it would be to skip one and then play the first or the third and the fourth, and like find the patterns that you can manipulate or participate in with the scale.
Oh my God, that is so good.
I'm not that music, like I'm not well versed in music theory, but that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and what happens is people end up confusing the scale for the music. I think that was just so well put, Ian. Daniel,
The
were you about to
scales
say
have
something?
fallen
Yeah.
off my eyes, but I gotta go. Thank you, guys.
Good to see you, Sam. It's a
Good to see
pleasure.
you,
Sam.
Daniel.
Bye, Sam.
Bye.
And that wordplay was fire, Ian. I really like that. So that's a fantastic question. It is not that scale is quote unquote bad. Scale becomes bad after it overextends or goes too far, which means it violates a scaling law. So there's a few issues here. Matt, good to see you today. I hope you're doing well.
I am. I was just about to respond to your email.
Oh, delightful. Very good. Outstanding. Thank you, sir. I magnificent. Well, good to see you. I was just Rigel asked a really good question on like scale and spread relation in different things. And Ian had like the best wordplay on scale, as he does while driving a car. So like a million points to Ian there. It's really well. But so the funny thing about scale, I guess, so it's not that scale is quote unquote bad, right? Scale is bad at a certain point, right? Like and furthermore, if you spread, but maybe have not scaled that of which would make possible the coordination of resources or sustainability, then the spread may actually lose the connections, but because things start dying, or maybe they get sick and a blight gets in it or something like that, right? So the irony, so there's a lovely book that I really like by, I believe, Jeffrey West at the Santa Fe Institute, and it's called Scale. And something that he points out is that nature consists of scaling laws, meaning that why aren't there bumblebees as big of an elephant? There could be, but why aren't there? Why aren't there trees that are as big as the Empire State Building? There's not. And so what he posits in the book is that actually nature entails natural scaling laws, which gets tied to energy use, metabolism, etc. Right? So there's a reason that things average a certain scale versus not, right? What he points out, so there's a bunch of things here, this gets tied into like topography and different things, is that there's another issue where nothing in nature is smooth. There's no smoothness in nature, nor straight lines. It's all rugged and different things. And actually that's tied to scaling laws, is that actually smoothness means you aren't bound by a scaling law, which actually then becomes very problematic. Okay, so this is the point he makes. And it's a tremendous book. Humans are actually capable of making smoothness. We can make smooth things, but the problem is if you make smooth things, they don't naturally scale. They could theoretically unlimitedly scale, and that actually proves destructive to the environment. And he's talking about the threat of mega cities, cities that keep going forever. Like we're not able to create technology that naturally exists with the environment. It can scale forever. So the problem is humans are able to actually violate scaling laws. We're able to scale without laws of scaling, okay? So this is where we get in massive trouble, right? So what this would mean, now there are many sociologists and people talk of Dunbar numbers, and there's all this idea of energy use where you can actually again, I'm no expert on any of that, but there is an idea that you can get a certain sense of what is a good number of scale, right? Well, the issue is we as human beings don't tend to accept those limitations of scale. Like scaling is fine if you accept its limits, which we as human beings can naturally violate. So we have to choose the limits. But how do you choose limits? Because the whole thing we think choice and freedom is about escaping limits. So scale only works if you choose limits, which we don't do. All right. So there's two moves here. One, we have to learn to choose limits and then realize spread is a valid strategy. Okay. So we're missing both of those. We don't realize that scale has to have a natural limit. So we scale forever and destroy everything, basically. Or, we scale things and then habituate a certain mode of subjectivity that can't handle difference and otherness and all that different stuff, community, etc. So we don't realize we have to actively create limits on scaling because we can create smoothness as human beings. And so you don't naturally arrive at an energy efficient he goes a lot into metabolism and things, how that's part of scaling laws and so on. So we have to choose limit, which we don't think we want to do. And in fact, we think since scaling is the only way to save the world, choosing limit would be like the doom of all of us, right? That would be the exact opposite. When in fact, choosing to limit scale and then spreading, creating connections between what we scale to create a rhizomatic structure is the proper way to bring about sociological change. So that's where I would start.
Could I just throw in the words walled garden?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. This principle is all throughout mythology, all throughout. Absolutely.
I've got so many thoughts going through my head because flashes of examples of limited scaling, smoothness, all this stuff is from the natural world it's like a little movie theater right now. But the one thing I thought of when it comes to smoothness, which I don't want us to smooth over that. Let's talk about smoothness because it's a shortcut, which is what a straight line is actually. And it's interesting here in the spring when the ground thaws. So we're in the middle of it now. It's called breakup in March. And breakup is the worst time of the year because the frost is coming out of the ground. It's usually wet, snowing or raining, and everything is muddy. My sheep are filthy dirty at the moment. But what that allows for, this messiness, is for the moisture to be absorbed into the ground. So during breakup, there's always a little time where everything freezes solid again, but the sun shines during the day. So when that happens, all the water runs off the ground because the ground is now frozen solid. It's smooth. Okay. So when I think about this metaphor or this story or this example, which is what all these examples are, they're stories for us to ponder, is that the smoothness doesn't allow for absorption. Like think about that in a in a cultural sense or whatever. The shortcuts, you become an agent of destination. getting from A to B. That's it. You're not taking in the world around you anymore. You're just moving quickly as possible.
Yeah, Ian.
That last bit triggered something because I'm doing my job, which is Spark delivery for Walmart, so like grocery delivery. And when I receive an offer for like a trip, it'll tell me how much it is that I will make, how far away it is, lots of details. But the picture it shows is A to B. It shows me a straight line from the store to where I'm dropping it off. And then when I click the map to like go and actually deliver it, then it tells me, no, there's actually not a road that goes straight A to B from Walmart to this person's house. So the smoothness is a good thing for like a plan. Like, okay, I got to go to Walmart and I got to get to this person's house. That's general, a very base level sort of sketch of a plan. But then the roughness is the actual participation with the terrain that I have to navigate to achieve my journey.
But here, I'm just going to add this quickly. There is actually a utility in these little moments of freezing where you have the warm daytime weather and the cold nights, and the ground freezes and the water runs off the ground. So that protects from oversaturation, and it also fills up low spots. Okay? Low spots that will hold that water over time and remain green, even in drought periods. Okay? So like it's never one is better than the other.
Yeah.
Right?
It almost reminds me of like, and I want to hear from you, Matt, like slip and grip. And there's these like seasons of slipperiness, and you can't grow roots in that moment. But in the moments of grip, then that's when like the roots kind of like dig down. And I don't know, that's what came up. Mm-hmm. Matt, you had something.
Oh yeah, no, I just got impatient and started yammering in the comments. But I feel like I don't know if there's like a difference between there's a certain kind of like smoothness that's kind of like naturally occurring in nature. We're talking about like lake surfaces, and frankly, like one of the times when the lakes are most kind of like impressive, when they seem to be most like create a state of harmony the most, is when we experience the smoothness of a lake. So I don't know if there's a certain, you want to contrast like the age of decay versus nature, at its apotheosis, at its ideal.
I'll just say this: the smoothness of a lake provokes reflection.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's what that means to me. So it's also a mirror. So
or maybe it's like a naturally occurring sense of unnaturalness. It's sort of it gestures towards the transcendent, because like lakes aren't usually like this, so it kind of like piques our attention.
No, that outstanding. So there's a bunch of things. So again, in the book, yeah, absolutely, there are examples of smoothness, but it hits a limit, and then it doesn't go on forever. We as human beings could theoretically make a road versus. So there's kind of a difference between, to use a loaded term, emergent smoothness that comes from the roughness and created smoothness. Like we as a human being could like create something smooth forever. Mm-hmm. And thus it doesn't naturally actually curve. Curve is actually huge in all of this complexity science. There's no natural curvature that then actually affords then the texture needed so that the ecosystem survives, so that the overall ecosystem functions. So it's a very good point. I think also there's a book that I want to note before I forget, because I like it so much, and you're also good to see you. Paul Kraffel, Sensing Nature, where he talks about kind of actually how negentropic and entropic developments happen in nature that can become a very useful kind of guide to think these thoughts. And something that he also kind of points out is that there are examples in nature that seem to actually reverse negentropy, in the sense of if you have water coming down a hill, and could be actually an example of the lake, then it takes a lot of energy to get the water back up the hill, but actually the formation of the landscape can collect the water to where it can actually move vertically and in essence do the work of bringing the water back up the hill, but through the simple collection. Now, the principle here is that you can actually basically create negentropic effects simply by the accumulation of very small activities over time in the right landscape.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason why this is important is because I think this is basically the strategy of spread. Whereas you create a container, such as the Rigel Cosmic Navel, and you do little small activities through a long period of time, and you gradually accumulate something that actually reverses entropy. It creates more workable energy. So negentropy is workable energy. Entropy is unworkable energy, right? That's when it becomes chaos, right? So it's not really that entropy is the loss of energy or something. It's where it doesn't relate enough to be usable anymore, right? So that occurs when you don't have an adequate container, if you will, or membrane, or there are different terms. And so what you see
sponge.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, there's a phenomenon with low spots, like when they log around here, the low, it's fairly dry where I live, and the low spots are what they call natural meadows. So they stay green because they've collected water. Okay. And but when they log, and the water runs off too quickly because the trees absorb water and they hold the water level in the soil, you know, at a certain level, right? But when they're gone, when they clear cut, the water just runs off. It doesn't have anything to suck it up, right? And then what ends up happening is these low spots. You would think, if you were thinking scale, you would think that you could collect more water. But spread says no. We have to have everybody here. This is this complex, unseen world, right? That allows for this natural limited scale to happen. And so anyway, these low spots, they are an accumulation of organic material over millennia, which forms a sponge. I love talking about this because, Daniel, you just said all this, but in propositional language. This is my language. So it forms a sponge underneath. And when that sponge dries out, it takes years just to soak the sponge. Okay? So there's a story, a book written about my area called 3 Against the Wilderness, about a guy from England who came here, married a native woman. They had a son, and they spent decades damming up these low spots to fill up the sponge in the low spots so they could trap muskrat, because all the muskrat had left and the beaver were trapped out. So everything just dried up, right? And it took them decades just to soak the sponges. Like, this is possibly where we are right now in this postmodern world. Okay, the sponge is completely dried out, my friends.
I wanted to just welcome Yoav to the stage. Yoav, nice to see you here. Have anything that's bubbling up you want to add to the conversation? Challenge and support is welcome.
Hi, everybody. On the same subject, I showed you a picture before, and it's about a friend of mine, now deceased, who was a photographer, and he was obsessed with the subject of reflection of a wavy lake. When you see two worlds, you see the lake and the reflections. And when the water is not smooth, but when the water is wavy, but just wavy enough that you can see what the reflection. I give you another example.
Here, can you show that one more time? And I'm just going to make it big for everyone. Just kind of like try to focus on it for just a few seconds. Okay, I'm making it big here. Okay.
Maybe back it up a bit.
Yeah, can you back up a little bit? Oh, okay. They may already be backed up. Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
Wow.
Gorgeous.
So it looks like abstract art, but it's photography. And we had a complete selection of these. And this is the picture that is hanging on the wall, you know. I have, it's a trademark of mine that I live in a boring room. But that's the picture that is hanging on my wall.
Mm.
And I can spend a lot of time looking at it and trying to decipher what is it that is reflected. Because it's just smooth enough that I can, that the problem is interesting, but not a mirror. So just the right amount of smoothness to make it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a statement about smoothness. There's a range in the middle. Too rough is not interesting, and completely flat is not interesting. There is a range in the middle when the real stuff is.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing the person into the conversation as the observer finding something interesting, because there is a human here that's receiving it. Go for it.
I really like that, and I will have to go to work in a minute. That's fantastic. There is something about when you strike the mean between smoothness, spread, and scale. It creates a reflection of something that you as the person can sense, but not entirely, and thus you have to do the work as a person to figure it out, right? Like when you're in these conversations, you sense something, you intuit it beyond calculation, and then you're kind of circling it to kind of determine. That is the work of forming the subject in the manner necessary for dealing with our most pressing problems in the world today. And so when you have that reflection there, where you say there's something reflected, it's kind of sacramental, but I can't see it entirely. And in fact, because I can't see it entirely, I'm interested, and I want to do the work to get what it is. It calls to you, and thus kind of creates energy. And it should also be noted in the Paul Kraffel sense, he wants to point out that localized negentropy is more than possible. Negentropy, because you could argue, well, it's not really he's not really, reversing entropy because somewhere cosmically it's still occurring. The point is, in that valley, when it has that accumulation, you have a local example of negentropy. You're making usable work. You're making complexity with less energy that went into it. So the right environment does that. I do think we see that in conversations like this online in the social coordination mechanism, where you'll come in, not know what and then you'll talk for 5 hours. That's like localized negentropy. You create order out and it just, boom, it just shows up. The ability of the human being to do that is more and more what we need to master bringing out, which I think you can only do through spread. And of course, spread is fundamentally relational. It entails a kind of invisibility. I mean, it's Heideggerian care, it's arts and things like that. Those create the conditions where this very mysterious ability of human beings to localize negentropy, to create energy, comes out, because it creates a landscape that is able to emerge to a proportion between smoothness and texture, scale and spread, that then allows this possibility of catching a glimpse of something that reflects that then you pursue. And that is what thinking, philosophy, theology, and the human being is supposed to use thinking for, dang it, to figure out how to coordinate and create the space where you have this reflection that then you full body pursue. Thinking is supposed to serve creating the contestants a possibility of getting that glimpse and glimmer that then motivates you to pursue, because now Eros has been caught up in the love that moves the sun and other stars to be compelled toward something more. And so what you can do in spread is create that effect, but you can't do it in scale. Scale cannot find the mean between the smoothness and the texture to create that reflection, because what ends up happening is too smooth. You see it entirely. You can quantify it. What happened? What is the whole problem of scale? Quantification, right? You know exactly what the corporation is for. You know exactly.
Not about quality.
It's all. And the funny thing is, Blondell points out something you start caring about a doorknob when it breaks. You don't care about it when it works. You don't even notice it. It's invisible to you, right? So when thinking knows what it's thinking about, it doesn't care about it. We create care when we have mystery. And the problem with scale is it removes mystery for quantification, which is fine if you follow scaling laws. But the problem is, those in nature, scaling laws are naturally occurring where human beings have to choose them. And who decides? And people have ego investments to keep making that tower go bigger. The Tower of Babel. We don't naturally want to follow scaling laws. But if we don't, then we can't create that wonderful effect that Joseph was pointing to, that I think is getting at when you get the mean between scale and spread that summons the human being to move toward the love that moves the sun and other stars. So magnificent. I really love this.
Is Daniel what happens when the farm boy goes to university and studies philosophy?
No,
Okay,
he did it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Daniel, before you leave, I just want to read something. This is something I wrote a year ago. It's quiet, except for the dogs panting, and even he occasionally holds his breath to listen. The lake is still. A few ducks occupy the reeds, and every now and then a flicker calls. A dragonfly laid her eggs in the water in an act of defiance against the approaching death of winter. I hope they have time to pupate before the temperature dips too low. I'm sure she knows best. The trees are turning now, slowly at first. They will be bare in no time. Autumn is short here. The squirrels are preparing. I love the in-between times. They are transitioning times, transformational times. I yearn for that power in my life. The lake is still, trees reflected flawlessly in a glass-like surface, clouds hovering at seeming heights in its lowest depths. All reflections are worlds turned upside down.
Magnificent, Sherry. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so sorry, friends. I will have to go and convince people to come to our wedding venue. So we will see. It was
You
wonderful
getting
to be
married
here.
again?
No, we run it. I tell you what, that would be interesting. We run a wedding venue. So
I know. I'm just kidding.
I know.
Might be some interesting
right.
tax loophole to kind of.
There might actually be.
You know.
Yeah, that actually. Hey, can you double your tax return if you do? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, brilliant, Rigel. Brilliant.
Oh, yeah, everybody just the tax fraud scheme.
No. If it's real, and the love that moves. Yeah. So it'd be Dante-esque. So, friends, good to see you now.
Thank you, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Oh man, so good.
Yeah. It's like drinking from a fire hose, friends.
Oh my.
Yeah. Thinking
Right?
from a fire hose.
It's like, am I drowning or am I actually, helping my thirst?
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah. I see you out there, Matt. Jump on in if you'd like. Go for it.
I was kind of thinking about the walled garden idea because that was really apt earlier when you brought that up, Sherry, that the walled garden as a sort of type or model for all of these different types of things. Daniel was talking about it from his scale book that he was referencing, but when it comes to, like, I was just thinking about if we take this analogy, there's a degree of certainty in scale. And so you think about it as like a growing, but it's really like somehow it's not that. And I don't really know how. And that's why this is what's bubbling up, to use Rigel's language there. There's a way of having a walled garden with certainty that demands that you trim every limb in the garden, like hedges or whatever. And there is some amount of trimming that's necessary, but I'm talking about like every day you go and make sure that not a single leaf has sprouted, no buds, nothing is moving in a direction that it wants to, and you try to maintain the exact shape. And I think scale maybe demands that, because you need to have like Legos, you need to have the same modular component in order to build upon and stack up this scale.
But
I've got a little quote from a book called Trees that might help you.
Yeah.
A little bit. I don't know, but she's talking in here about how we build things, we erect things, right? So she says, and she's comparing it to spread trees. You erect your temples too remote from the soul of man, old God. You build where his body cannot come to worship you. You separate yourselves from his being instead of making him know that you and he are one, great harmony within one universe. You erect your temples too remote from the soul of man, old God. You build where his body cannot come to worship. Because, I mean, if you look at our anatomy, we are trees. Our circulation system looks like a tree.
You know the story in the Bible where Jesus heals the guy's eyes, but only halfway, and he says,
Yes.
I see it, and it looks like people or
I see
trees moving like
men
people.
like trees walking. Yeah. Jeremy Firth, the guy that I do Lies of the Saints with, he loves that. He brings that up so many times in so many different situations. Yeah.
Maybe it was just X-ray vision. He just had X-ray vision to see the circulatory
Healed him
system.
too well. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't half healing. It was a double healing.
He had to
It's all right
scale
for him.
back. Yeah, that's really good, Sherry. It's making me think of something that I was thinking about earlier. I put it in the chat about narrative, because I think I was talking earlier with a different group about this, and narrative has been returning to my mind as fundamental and essential. And anyway, the way that you participate with your trees in your garden and their uncanny ability to grow in ways that are new and different and not what you were anticipating, you can come at them with a narrative like, that's bad, we need to be scalable, you can't repeat this garden, but if you trim everything down to the same shape, then you could. But realistically, like, if you have a family, if you're gaining your food and shelter from this walled garden space, then I think that you interact with these things in different ways. Like, Rigel, is your cosmic navel, is it actually like a hump in your backyard, like underground?
Like,
I think you were...
literally, yes, it is. I mean, it looks like a dirt igloo, basically.
Yeah, or a dirt Audi.
Yeah.
Yes.
A dirt navel.
Yes.
Exactly.
But that's you participating with your space, like you're creating, but you're not demanding of your space anything like beyond the pale. And I guess this is just what I'm thinking, that our narratives are maybe so fractured that we want to rely on scale because it's like, it's a little bit more certain, and that's what we really want. But if we could find, right at the end of Luke's stream, we were talking about, or maybe middle end, we were talking about something Jedediah brought up, category theory, adjunctions, something like that. But it's like basically like the overlap in a Venn diagram. These are the things that I think narratively we should be highlighting and exploring, because when we attack the things where there's no overlap, then there is no potential for creation. And so in a space like this, that's what we're able to do. Like Rigel is doing his version of it, but like the TLC is so many different versions of these things. And, Federecci's channel and Rigel's channel have very different vibes. But the idea that the overlap is worth being explored, I think is something that does overlap.
I'm very intentional about doing that in my little preamble. I always, at some point, like today, I said, here, the cosmic navel, we sponge paint with the transcendent and the immanent. We smear together rich with the poor. I'm bringing together what I have, this giant list of what I call masculine, feminine, positive polarities, and so I'm intentionally trying to like make or like stretch out room for this like Venn diagram overlap space, because that, I totally agree, that's where like creation happens. Interesting. You know,
Yeah.
the shape.
It's a very sexual metaphor.
Yes, 100%. And it's like baked into, you know, geometry and all of reality. Where song runs through all of reality.
Amen.
Chad, man, good to see you, buddy. All right, you just keep doing your thing. You're welcome to come, you know, bubble whatever's bubbling up for you.
Am I coming through?
Yeah, you're coming through.
Okay, good. Oh yeah. So I just have this thing about. I've been thinking a lot about art, or actually the use of the word art, and kind of like this, kind of like this denaturing of the love making that happens when art is created. So, like, when we call it art, you know, like this thing, like I was watching the Shia LaBeouf interview, and he's like obsessed with art, and he's like, it's about the art, and it's the art, and the art, and I'm like thinking about how it's so kind of poisoning when we do that. So that's just kind of on my mind. I'm all for art, but why must we call it art? We can just call it like refer to it, approach it more respectfully rather than calling it a thing like art, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like
that's my thinking.
Yeah, like defining it as a I mean, it's this mystical creation, and almost putting limits on it kind of takes it out of its proper category. I don't know. I'm riffing with you, Chad.
I think we kind of understand that art is something that's continually like escaping the box we try and put it in. Like the fact that we like things that are labeled art are always subject, like, is that really art? And there's all sorts of things that would be outside of the category. It's I mean, it's one of those things that's so much bigger than anything that we try to do to linguistically pin it down.
Yeah. Art is just manifestation of creativity. Creativity is fertility, it's fecundity, and it's what we're called to, right? Life. So, yeah, that's what I think.
I feel like it's not just that though, because I feel like
That's not a not
there's
just.
also like the move toward its full telos, the flourishing. So there's also, it's not just creation. I feel like it's also apocalypse, revelation, judgment.
Yeah, I didn't say creation. I said fecundity, fertility.
You start off saying creation.
No, I said creativity.
Yeah, but okay, so I think we did the same thing with the word imagination. We almost like, and I've thought about this for a while, like we almost like flattened the mode of living, which is imagination, by continually referring to the word imagination and just kind of like despiriting it or something like that. And and then, like, you know, and obviously we're gonna have to do these things at some point. Like, obviously we did, right? We had to make all these different categories, but like, there's something so much more profound about the imagination, or let's say, art. You know, it's like that's all I'm thinking. So, sorry. Continue.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've Chad, I'm gonna just mute you when you're done chatting.
Yeah.
Okay. Just so.
Yeah. That's
cool. Someone said in the chat here, friends of mine, President Foxman, nice to see you out there. Friends of mine like to reserve the creation word for the divine. Humans make things. I don't know about that. I mean, my 100 days of my 100 days of creating community, I made this very intentional kind of marketing. I would even maybe call it a Trojan horse. to refer to people as creators, because I mean, the word creator and creativity has kind of become this mushy, overused. It's like the word community. Like, what does it really mean? Like, is your, the center at your apartment complex really a community center? Like, but I'm kind of slipping it in with the intention of using it kind of ontologically, to kind of re-carve out this space as like each person is made in the image of the creator. And we are like, this is divine work that we're doing. And go for it.
Yeah, I think Foxman's kind of getting at the thing, and Aquinas points it a lot. It's the fact that all of our talk about God is necessarily like analogical. Like, God does not do things in the same way that we do things. To talk of God creating and to talk of us creating is not identical. This is getting at there with because we can't create ex nihilo. So there's like, we are always repurposing previously made matter in some new way. That is a creaturely attempt to do, based off of our own finitude, what we see God doing.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I've talked about at length. This is something that I got a lot of flack, a lot of pushback for, was that because George MacDonald in his imagination essay talks about creation ex nihilo being reserved for the word creative or creating being reserved for God, because God creates ex nihilo. We recombine. And so Tolkien took that idea and he called it co-creating with God. Okay. But the pushback I got was, oddly enough, and I was completely, ignorant, which is bliss, let me tell you, of this whole thing, that some people believe that what it did was denigrate the cosmos, ex nihilo, because it was saying the cosmos was nothing. And I'm like, what? No. Like, because I was only understanding it through George MacDonald's eyes. Ex nihilo means God doesn't need to recombine. He doesn't need an already pre-existing idea. His thoughts are his actions. Okay. And that is the essence of creativity, right? When you can align your heaven with your earth. Okay. So you have a thought that becomes an action and gets pushed out, born into the world, right? That's the kind of fecundity that God has. But George MacDonald says, I'll allow you to call it creating, but let me just show you that you're actually just recombining from the things that are around you. And that is why the cosmos itself is so important, because it is the place that we create from. All of our thoughts, all of our ideas are all around us. They pre-exist because they are, and hopefully I don't offend Chad, God's divine imagination. They came from him ex nihilo, okay? Like with no presuppositions. So like this is like, it's so clear and obvious to me that we derive our language from creation, our inventions can be found in creation, things with wings, airplanes, things with fins, fish, it's all there already. But we tend, and this gets back to this whole idea of scale and spread. Because when we are scaling, we think that we're doing this ourselves, right? This is Babel. This is us doing this thing. And we forget that, everything that we're doing has been infused into us like tea from the world around us. We're the sponge. We've picked it all up. We've absorbed it. And then we go, oh, look, I have this idea. But it's something we collected along the way. It's not something that is new to anything.
We're the feminine, right? The body of Christ is the feminine. So we're, yeah.
Hey, I just want to do a little admin thing here. We have, for the first time, more people trying to get on the stream than we have spaces
go.
for. So I mean, I took Yoav off just for a second because he was not visible, but we brought Sam back. So Sam, why don't you jump in, and Sherry, if you want, I can take you off and bring Ezra on, and then we can just do rotating.
I'll
You just
go.
wave at me.
I'll say Bob. I'll watch.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Sherry.
You're
Love
the
you
best,
guys.
Sherry. All right. Ezra, I'm bringing you on. Sam, take it.
Congratulations on the milestone, man. Too many people.
I know. Great.
Won't be long
Garden
before.
wall is bursting.
Yeah.
A couple of things I just wanted to note. First of all, I think the notion of ex nihilo, I mean, it makes sense. I get what she's saying about the pushback around tech, like the Babylonian myths and like kind of these ancient myth stories had like chaos as the sort of thing that is the waters, that he doesn't form it out of nothing, quote unquote. It's out of there's not really a ancient kind of conception of nothing, how we think of it as like, zero or something. So in the ancient mind, it was like out of the pure potential. And for me as a creative person, when I make something, and again, we're all creative, so let me keep harping that drum. Any creating act comes from the potential, or sort of the space of chaos. It's sort of like the yin yang idea of like there's opportunity space. If you've seen anything from Stephen Wolfram, he's this really brilliant mathematician. Whatever, he did I forget what the name of the site is, but he has this whole talk with Nassim Nicholas Taleb where he talks about the Rulliad space, where he essentially maps this sort of visualization that looks a lot like the fractal triangle that Pajot threw up the other day. It's basically just mapping out like this notion of like potentiality, what Sherry was speaking to, which is this fecundity, this all of the creative possibility that exists in all space, time, potential, like everywhere. So I just wanted to share that notion. And then the other thing she was talking about was the I forget now. There was something else there, but it'll come back. So
Ezra.
hi, Ezra.
Good to see you.
Hey guys, good to see you guys. Yeah, I've just been listening and had some thoughts. I kind of have my own, I guess, DIY theology, I would call it. And I guess I view everything as, the union of masculine and feminine, yin yang, heaven and earth, and the spirit is like the relation between those two things. So the Tao, the spirit, and I also see those as heaven's like the why, earth is the what, the spirit is the how.
Oh, interesting.
And I see us as living in a time where we have a lot of the spirit of no spirit, I would call it, or the spirit of death, the how that's not a good how. It doesn't lead to life,
It's totally disconnected from the why. That's an interesting way to think about it.
And like, we were talking about even like smoothness and those things before. I was thinking about how like maybe you can have kind of perfect smoothness in heaven or something like that. And a lot of, I guess, what I see in maybe modernity is like separating heaven and earth so much that they're so far away that it's like the Platonic realm of the forms that's so far, or like, I guess, like Platonic math more, like, these physics and laws. And then there's like this brutal reality, but they're not connected through a spirit or a how. And, and then I guess I see us as hows, like who's are, we're who's.
Yeah.
Who's in Whoville?
Yeah.
And that's, we're a microcosm. So we got the same stuff going on.
It's making me think of I've talked about this, I think, before, probably almost a year ago, but this idea that in bridge building, you have to build in dissonance so that the bridge doesn't explode. I mean, a bridge is great in, perfect geometry as long as there's no earthiness, no wind, no nothing from our realm interacting with it. But the moment it engages, wind, if it doesn't have dissonance built in, it will explode.
Yeah. I remember what I was
very
going to
close
say.
to the famous bridge that did not build in enough dissonance for wind and is now the test case for every engineering class.
Yep, the Tacoma Narrows.
Galloping Gertie.
Yep.
Is that scale without spread? The when you don't take into account the earth of things or something?
That sounds right to me.
There's also the other phenomenon in engineering of like hyper, like extreme overbuilding, which I don't know, maybe you get like things like brutalism where like you get something that is so earthy that it works and it's just, there's no grace, there's no finesse. It's just raw power exerted on the space.
Mm-hmm.
I think I kind of see that maybe as like the postmodern move, which is like a critique of, maybe it's a critique of heaven or a critique of this like truth and showing that it can't quite work completely separated. But then it becomes sort of obsessed with the earth as if, well, then the earth is what's real. Even in Jordan Peterson, there's this idea of like the most real thing is pain. Like that's the thing that, or suffering, like that's the thing that you're not going to be able to deny. And, and I'm like, is that the most real thing? I'm not
Suffering.
Sure. I feel like even he doesn't quite believe that because he thinks meaning transcends pain.
Agreed. Yeah.
Which is but I think like much postmodernism and Peterson are kind of operating purely in an immanent frame, so they can't. There's no allowance for that which is beyond the earth. So all they can do is get a very earthly account of. I know they're kind of like blind gropings for what heaven might be, and it's that noticing that. Meaning helps me to endure pain, and so there is something, but he's famously not quite willing to put a name on it.
That's a really interesting connection between Jordan Peterson and postmodernism that I haven't quite heard yet, and I think that's right on. Like he wants to, but he can't do it. At least in the last time I listened to him.
It's still in progress.
So, brother, we're all on the path. We're just on different parts of the path.
If you sing "Come Up to the House" to him, I think he'll come up to the house. So I think this is like the Tower of Babel. I mean, it's this from the earth trying to reach to the heavens. It's scale, not spread. It's I was thinking the other day about urbanization versus like the rural, because my life path happened to track from a rural lifestyle in my upbringing, or more rural, not totally, but like more rural. And then I kind of urbanized, and I was like, this kind of sucks, actually. I want to go back to the rural. And I was like, even God didn't want urbanization. Like he broke that thing down and was like, spread out, multiply. And I think part of that is because, like Sherry was saying, the created order is the means by which you participate in the creative participation of the imago Dei that you have, like the image of God in you. So you need to spread out into all the world to see like how the branches work in, the Cuban island versus Africa versus Russia. Like how do trees operate? How do organic materials operate? So that you can be inspired and create. And not only that, like there's a stewardship mentality too. Like you need to steward that land. Like where people aren't, like it's not, like wilderness is worse than, I would say, even like a hard, I'm in Detroit. It's like you go into a wilderness, it's more hard and rugged and like it's harder to survive than even, a tough city like Detroit. But it's like we need people to go out there and to spread the salt, to be the salt. It's the salt of the earth, not just the salt of like, I used to think that was very like, well, love your neighbor and be kind to people. But also some of that is like the created order itself needs stewarding and tending. And they only do that by spreading out, like stacking one and other on top of each other. It actually kind of makes people like kind of meaner and less like sensitive to their neighbors' needs. Like there's just like a deeper I like miss that sense of like, oh, I see the same people all the time. I kind of know their faces. They kind of know my face. I'm kind of connected in a way, even though I don't super know them. And like, we're all in this together because, it's economically depressed enough that like the land matters, like what the weather's doing matters. Like all of this stuff is important to all of us. And yeah.
This book right here, A Pattern Language.
I was wondering when someone was going to bring that up.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This is my other Bible.
Of course
Christopher Alexander, one of the patterns of design is you're not supposed to build buildings that are over 4 stories high because of this like natural disconnection with humanity. I mean, he goes into some interesting research about it, but like people are like, I think statistically more depressed in stories over 4 stories high.
Weirdly, like the only city I can think of that's close to that is I think Washington D.C. has like a 5-story cap, which is almost worse. Like we are just going to put the roof on your like human, or like your.
Yeah,
it's gonna be just unnerving enough to remind you who's in charge or something like that.
Well,
yeah, it's.
Oh, go ahead.
Go for it.
I was just saying, I feel like that's related to high places because I think in DC, I could be wrong, but I think part of the idea is they want the Capitol buildings and some of those like pillars to be the point where you see that's like higher than the rest. Because what is the highest thing is the highest thing. Like it's just phenomenologically true. Like where I'm at, the highest thing are these skyscrapers that are testaments to like the big 3 automotive. Like the big 3 is the highest thing in Detroit, and that's for good or for bad. Like. Our God is automotive, and it's not a very loving God. I'm being honest. So, it's like, what would it look like? That's true. We are, Chrysler, Ford, and General Motors. So,
unholy trinity.
I just asked myself, like, what would it look like in a metropolis to have the highest place? I don't even think you can have the highest place be a church because it doesn't. I don't think churches scale in that way. I think they spread. Like you could have a village where the church is the highest place, but I don't think you could build a skyscraper church. I don't think it makes sense.
Sherry has returned. We've had 2 returns to the Cosmic Navel, like going. And coming back. Sherry and Sam.
It's a dance.
It's a dance. Oh, beautiful.
I mean, that's really appropriate for Sam, right? The going and coming back. Isn't that how that? Yeah. Isn't that the Hobbit story and Sam?
That's right.
Right?
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Potatoes.
I just came back to read something.
Yes.
When you're done. I'm not going to interrupt anymore. I'm just going to listen.
Well, we're coming into the landing strip here, coming in at a 45, about to roll into the down. Oh, I forgot all my terminology. Dang it. There was a time where I wanted to be a pilot, and that was in 7th grade, 8th grade. And then I grew.
And you were too tall?
Too tall for anything I could afford. It was like $45 an hour for the Cessna 152, and then for the 172, it was like $200 an hour. Just something absurd that a child could never pay for. Okay, so let's go around. Any like words, thoughts, kind of groanings? Okay, that's safe here too. Interpretive movements that you just want to kind of show, not tell. Okay, that's safe here. From this conversation, what's bubbling up for final thoughts? Because I have to go one.
So I initially wanted to argue with Sam a little bit when he said that God's pretty anti-city, and I think that's you can't quite make that. This is I was about to argue you can't quite make that categorically because you have the existence of places like Jerusalem. But then as he started talking more about the spreading out, I kind of wondered if, tying that back to our earlier conversation, part of the spreading out of the filling of the world is sort of that job number 1 right now is still stoking in that sponge, letting the sponge get saturated. And once you have enough kind of collected, compressed fecundity potential, then we are in the space to begin to like begin to go vertically rather than horizontally.
Yeah,
Love
and
it.
the city comes down. It comes down from heaven, the New Jerusalem.
Right. And I mean, like the more humans are in a compressed space, the more like virtue is required for us to learn how to live well with one another. Like it's it's a moral test as well of like, can you organize life together that can tolerate one another?
Sam, Ezra.
I just wanted to lament that you had to grow so tall, and give up on your dreams. Most guys struggle with, to be as tall as you. I could have dunked if I was your height. Okay, so I'm so sorry for you. No,
I could dunk like 60 pounds ago.
okay.
Yeah.
So there's still hope.
Still hope.
It's still spread.
Yeah.
No, this was really wonderful. I don't really have a ton more to say. This has been a joy. So thank you again. Always appreciate you making the extra effort and the sacrifice, Rigel, to put this space together so we can come play. So thank you.
I'm so glad I just pushed through the discomfort, because I was starting to despair a little bit, and now we have a third going and coming back. Ian. Okay, Ezra, and then Ian. Final words.
Yeah, just glad to be here. Thank you for having me. It was great listening even before I jumped on, and yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Ezra. Ian. Ian, you there? Ian. Okay, I'm gonna.
Ian, I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was just saying final words. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to say I really appreciated this, and I likewise am very grateful that you pushed through, because I think this was like I don't know. It was the
Oh,
That's
It
deep,
was
man.
was it?
You know what? It's actually beyond. It's beyond words. It's what he's doing right now is he's just tapping into that uncreated. He's in the ex nihilo.
You asked for groans.
He's
Here after.
in the groundless ground.
He was in the groundless ground. Okay, Ian, you're back. You're back.
Okay, let's go before I leave again. I just wanted to say that I'm grateful for this, and that I think this is like a Mount Rushmore Cosmic Navel episode. I'm glad to have witnessed it. It was so good.
Mount Rushmore.
That's the ultimate like American compliment.
I think that there's an interesting thing with scale and spread that was what Matt was making me think, that like there is a scaling element to spread. In fact, you need to spread in order to scale properly, or something like that. And so it's not that verticality to our structures is limited in such a quantifiable way, like the 4 stories thing, but like that might be the limit that Daniel was talking about earlier, the scaling with constraints. But anyway, I just was thinking, like, I think this is like the work, like you got to put in 10 years of stand-up comedy before you're even remotely capable, let alone good. You got to learn your scales before you can play a song with any kind of mastery. But then once you get there, to continue with musical, it's like then you can begin phrasing things in your way. And with that perspective and the narrative and all that you bring as an individual person, then you can sort of express that artistically, what is being imagined within you. And so that was just me trying to tie a bunch of things together that I was really enjoying.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude. And Ian, if you can send me an email, find me somehow with your channel, because I'd love to check out.
Insight Incorporated. Insight Incorporated.
Thanks, Jerry.
Subscribed.
Yeah. Okay. I want to. My final word is an image of something that I wanted to share earlier on, but this conversation took on a life of its own. But it kind of like, it's both a shameless self-promotion for my 100 Days of Creating community, but it's also like completely connected to everything we've been saying. So here is a photo of a bullet journal entry I made probably back in, I want to say October, this was before I had decided to expand from 100 Days of Songwriting to 100 Days of Creating. I was just in this like ex nihilo. I'm just going to ruffle some feathers here. Space. And this is what it is. So this is I don't know if you guys can actually see that, because it's probably small if you're on a phone or something. But I'm just going to read I created this garden, if you will, the circle space, right? And this is very much like free flow writing. And I wrote around the edge, hospitality for the creative spirit. Like this is me envisioning what I want this community to be before I know what it is. So I want hospitality for the creative spirit in all, drawing all towards the flourishing light, duty to preserve the paradox, rituals. And then I wrote, where else did I write? So many things in here. Oh, the next renaissance starts when you put down your phone and make something. And then you'll even see there's this kind of, mosaic of subcultures. Skankenstein, that is a pattern in pattern language. Okay? Mosaic of subcultures. So creating these subcultures of almost like guilds, if you will. And there is a toroidal moment in there. Luke, if you're out there, I'm thinking of you, buddy. Anyways, this is this vision that has now become reality. And we're launching our 100 Days of Creating tomorrow, which I'm super excited about. Any of y'all are more than welcome. I'll even put my 100 Days of Creating.com in the chat. We have a private Discord server. It is a paid community, but there are options out there that should meet anyone.
Sell out. No, just kidding.
Dude, scale, son. Scale, son.
Scale. No.
Scale that.
Build that tower higher.
All right, Sherry, close us out with something beautiful.
Okay, I wrote this a long time ago, and it was a reflection on the mirror images of October and March in the natural world. Right? They both feel the same, but their teleology is, one is death and the other is life. And so I just wrote this. October 20th, it's raining, leaves blown clean by the wind, bare trees, the air is cold. March 20th, death and life. Like a stone from a slingshot, we orbit, hurled far from the sun, on the cusp of something big. We feel it. Soon we will speed toward the thing that slams us together, me and I.
Thank you, Sherry. That's beautiful.
And Ezra, I'm so glad you're doing stuff with Grizz. I just want to say, it just thrills me every single time I see you guys together. I'm just like, oh, this is so good.
Thanks, Sherry.
Really happy about that.
Gosh, you guys, I am so grateful for all of you just hanging with me and creating beautiful conversation, beautiful jazz. Matt, Sam, Sherry, Ezra, all of everyone else who showed up in the Cosmic Navel today. Blessings be upon you, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
And I just have to say, I have this feeling in my stomach right now that I used to have when I was a little girl, that which is it's like a little ball of creativity that wants to come out, and it used to come out in me in that I would just sing everything I was thinking.
That is actually.
I just want to say thank you.
I'll also say, I actually came on here to grift and got so caught up in the conversation, and I never got around to it. But I'm sitting on about 35 pages of short stories for a soon-to-be-released second edition of this little zine.
What?
So we're in the next week or so, we've got big things cooking.
where do I get a copy of that little zine? Because you can grift.
You will hear from me as soon as I'm ready to put, or as soon as it's ready.
Okay.
So I haven't figured out like physical distribution yet, but yeah,
right.
no, you're definitely on the short list of guys who will hear.
Definitely. And from Joy out in the
list?
comments, blessings, dear ones, good strength, heart. Joy, so good to see
Thank
you.
you, Joy.
All right. I have to go pick up my child from school.
Good to see you all again.
Have a great day, everybody.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Peace.
Bye and bye. Whoops. Cancel. End the stream.